Welcome back to the GSTL, and Curious taking a pretty hearty win over SC, looking very strong, and now has to play against Seed.
He has to play against the Protoss player, and this makes things really interesting. Curious, traditionally in Heart of the Swarm, is, let's face it, he's horrible against Protoss. This is by far his worst matchup in Heart of the Swarm. And he has to face one of the strongest newcomers that we have seen in the scene in the last few weeks and months in the first round of the Challenger League, going up against Sora, who made an incredible run in the WCG qualifier. And now Curious is probably only practicing this one specific matchup. But is he really going to show it against Seed here, or is he trying to rely on maybe a different strategy, one that he didn't practice in the past?
Okay, here are our current poll standings for the All-Star match. By the way, get on that and vote. But Innovation in lead for Terran, Life in lead for Protoss, and Deer in lead for Zerg. You can vote for multiple players, by the way. You can select all the ones you want. So Aphrodite actually in the list for Terran's interesting pick. And everybody else looking pretty standard, though. Nobody else I'm extremely surprised to see in the picks. Crank making it in over
The only
there.
thing that's very interesting is that apparently Life, Linux, Sybil, Hive, and Curious all changed races to
I just
Protoss,
realized that. I'm
and
like,
Deer
wait a
Trap,
minute.
Alicia, Crank, and C decided to play Zerg, which I personally like. I appreciate them a lot as Protoss players. I'm really interested in what they can do with the Zerg.
Yeah, I didn't realize that for a second. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, look at that face. Bomber's making fun of her, actually.
That was actually like really cute.
I hope he copies her again. Pan out the camera.
But I want to see both.
But no, Life, that's not how you do it. It's similar, but that's not how you do it.
I'm really happy that actually Trap and Dia are so far up in the poll for Protoss, because those are the two Protoss players that I voted for too.
Well, this was just strange.
Linux tried.
Curious really has developed some claws there, as you can see, and he's looking deadly, man. He's got like +1 attack he got from winning that first game.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I don't really see Curious winning it. But the problem that I have, I wouldn't want to be in this situation. Players in this, like, you talk, okay, one of the things that we can always ask is like, well, if a player goes up in a matchup in the team league that he has to play in the individual league, is he going to give it his best? And usually players say, it's not a problem, I have so many builds I can pick from, especially when it's one of their strong matchups. The problem here is that Curious is currently, in this game, so bad against Protoss. It's his worst matchup by far, that he trains specific builds right now against a player like Sora, and he's really trying to make that happen. So if you're really just trying to go into that mood again and finding out new timings and going to this, you have your team supporting you, is that really a scenario where in the team league you suddenly showcase your best play, when you know that your opponent is definitely going to watch this game? And I just don't know. It depends a lot on what the team said here. And I can definitely see the coach just saying, you know what? Win your first game. If you go up against the Protoss, it's fine if you lose it. We are still ahead. We still have the map choice. We still have the player pick. Just play one of the strategies that you don't particularly prepare for Sora, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I would love to see one of those Speedling type builds, you know, where you just hide Speedlings to go for an attack, might catch Seed off guard. Youngsu is the map he's chosen, so I think the ball is really in Curious's court right now, because I think FXOpen sending Seed out here on Yunsu, probably his choice because he feels comfortable. I think he's going to play straight up. But Curious, he can do all sorts of things here. Look at Curious's face. I love that expression he always has. Like, he is ready to kill you.
Yeah, Curious going in his game up against his Protoss opponent, up against Seed at the GSTL. Hold on. Starting on Youngster to the top right, we have the Zerg player in his second game. It is
StarTale, Curious.
And Curious is actually, if I'm not mistaken, starting things off with a 10 pool here. At least he went up to more than 100 minerals. Yep, 10 pool. And I don't blame him. Bottom left of the map, we have the Protoss player. It is for Team FXOpen.
FXOC.
This is exactly what we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a match coming up. You don't want to show any specific strategies. You don't want to show your late game. You want to play a more aggressive build and just start things off that way.
Exactly. So if you are just watching the VODs and you're not watching this live, then the one thing that you have to keep in mind here is that Curious is facing a very strong Protoss player in the first round of the WTS Challenger League, so he most likely will want to save his strategies a little bit. He was sent out against the Terran here today and he defeated him. Now he's up against the Protoss, and Seed is someone who knows this, of course, as well. He scouts immediately. He sees what's going on here. He knows about the early pool. He himself started things off with the gateway opening, but for Curious, this makes a lot of sense. It's his weakest matchup by far. He was probably practicing a lot for his specific opponent in the individual league and doesn't really want to show all of his strategies, so he starts with a very aggressive build against Seed here.
Yeah, 6 Zerglings is probably all we're going to see. First drone comes out here, and for Seed, who is in fact not SC, as the overlay misleads you to believe, is going to... well, if he starts a Zealot, he's completely fine. If he doesn't start a Zealot, he may actually lose a few probes. It's all going to be about the micro here. He does start the Zealot now, and with the Zealot and the probes, he may lose maybe one, but most likely he's going to be able to micro against the Zerglings really well. I like this hide here. You can always come back in and check what the follow-up is, even make a pylon in you know, some strange circumstance because he has the fast core and go for a 4-gate. We've seen that before.
Lings are coming in now, and as you can see, like the expansion is already going up, so he's not building more, something that he doesn't know yet just yet. Nice positioning here for the Zealot, and so far Seed with a good job here, trying to actually capture the Zerglings.
Yeah, he's just constantly putting his Zealot in the perfect spot so it cannot be killed by the Zerglings, it cannot be surrounded by them. The Stalker coming out here, of course, a big deal. Once the Stalker is out, that's going to put an end to this because the Zerglings can never kill the Stalker. They have the same movement speed. Forces a cancel here. It's only 25 minerals lost, but he is actually going to find himself supply blocked if he doesn't add a second pylon. Where is it? There it is.
He puts it to the left side. If that is actually spotted and maybe even attacked, he might be able to force a cancel here, but he doesn't even see it. Moves back and is now still in the deficit with the Harvesters.
He saves the Lings. I like that a lot. Curious saving those Lings, just making sure that they can be useful later. 2 more Lings on the way. He's going to help deal with that pressure. And we are going to see, it looks like the 4-gate with the pylon in the main. Yep. That's exactly what I said. You know, if you get away with this, then why not?
Probe in the main base. We've seen this over and over again. If a Protoss player is actually able to just sneak that scout in. But, ooh, the Overlord might actually see the probe. I think he will.
Yeah. He's checking for
great.
it.
And that is actually, like, he's deliberately checking the corner here, sending the Overlord on the scouting path, and that is great. Now he can take down the probe.
He still needs to start spines, though, and get ready at the front, because there's going to be an attack there, too.
And that's something you might not know.
Is he actually just going to leave it alone? He left the probe alone. And now pylons are going up in the main base.
Well, but he has those spine crawlers now going up, and he builds a lot of Zerglings upon realizing that there is no expansion for his opponent, and that was important. Problematic is that he does not have speed.
He's going to want to get into the main base here with Zealots if he can. Run up into the main. I don't think this is going to work. Oh, this is just the worst possible moment for him to warp in Zealots too. Well, he gets into the main.
Oh,
no,
one
quite.
Stalker is caught on the ramp as well as a Zealot. Here comes the rest of those Zerglings, and this is just too much. And we have a couple of Lings also at the bottom left, distracting Seed even further.
Yeah, this is too much. This is going to be game. He only has 6 probes, or rather he lost 6 probes. He only has 20 probes left, and this attack is going to be cleaned up, especially with the Queen here.
Yeah, it definitely should be. He's getting more Spine Crawlers, he's getting more more Zerglings now into the picture. The pylon is already nearly done. The Queen's doing their damage, the Zealots are gone, and Seed is in so much trouble right now. 2 bases against 1 base, no tech for Seed. That's the big problem that he has here. The Harvester count is fine, but he has no army, he has no second base, and he has no tank.
And he'll never get that Nexus up with this many Zerglings. He doesn't have, Curious doesn't have to worry about a counterattack with the 2 spines here. He can just send his Zerglings down, force cancels on the Nexus as many times as he wants. And Seed basically rolled the dice here, and he rolled Snake Eyes.
Yep, he did. The probe gets spotted in the main base. If that probe puts up a pylon there and it isn't scouted, he can even warp in the second round. and then he's going to be fine. But in this scenario, it didn't work. Oh my
he was
god.
not even paying attention to
The
the sentries.
sentries didn't see what was coming. The force fields, they are too late. The sentry's gone, the Stalker as well, and so are the chances of C to take this game.
Yeah, he may survive just barely this attack with the Zealots and the Mothership Core, but
he will
losing the
survive.
sentries means that he is basically not going to survive the war here.
Exactly. He's going to survive this attack definitely with the Mothership Core, but he has no... He has still no tech, he has still no second base coming up, and this is kind of an unwinnable position. Unless Curious makes like a massive mistake now.
Curious has two very simple things he can do right now. One is to just tech to lair right away. Another thing is to just make a Roach Warren and make a bunch of Roaches and attack, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to pick the Roach Warren option, get speed as well. And with his next wave of units, he should be able to kill the Nexus that Seed will start and end the game.
The problem really being that with this strategy, the only thing that Seed can try to win this game is hold on somehow. If he would be able to get the Nexus up at the natural, then he will be able to use the Mothership Core with a Photon Overcharge. But looking at what Curious currently does, I don't really think that he will be able to do that. And if you just look at the situation that we have now, 2 base against 1 base, the third coming up for Curious, nearly double the worker count for the Zerg player, his tech going up as well, going into lair. The situation for him is so amazingly good that it's really difficult to see Seed winning this. But Seed will be able to at least cancel that third and then...
Yeah, he's trying to trick Curious here a little bit with that pylon saying, oh, I'm going to expand now, and then he attacks. But he cancels it, he gets more spines, he has the rocks to rely on for the time being, and I think he should be fine.
At the bottom left.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
They're in the main base right now killing probes as we speak.
He's also supply blocked. Seed is currently supply blocked. And yeah, at the bottom left, he's losing harvesters now.
Rocks hanging on here for dear life, and Curious will have 4 spine colors, Roaches, 10 more of them. Burrow is on its way here, and he's just going to micro against these Zealots with his Roaches until the spines are up. Good force fields here.
He sent actually Zerglings away to attack at the bottom left. That's how confident he feels to hold this.
Look at the spine, 92 to 40.
There's no chance. There's just no way. The Zerglings at the bottom left are going to clean up the rest of the probes. And
that means no more warp-ins.
No more warp-ins, no more army. The Roaches, they pop.
GG.
A little bit uneventful after this massive move by Curious here, but really well played. He identified what was going on, he saw that there was a 4-gate coming his way, and when he defended it, this also kind of took down. It's called all in for a reason.
Yeah. How awesome must this be for Curious, because he doesn't have to show anything. Again, in Zerg vs. Pros, all he did was hold a 4-gate and transition like like anybody would. And Seed has got to be crushed. He lost his Challenger League match. He lost his 1 match against Curious, and now FXOpen is down. And Curious is ready to go. He's ready for the next player. And who's it going to be? Is it going to be Lucky?
You know what? The problem also is a ZVZ against Curious, a player who is traditionally very strong in the matchup. But this is definitely going to be iffy right now. And for Seed, he went for an all-in, he went for the 4-gate, his pylon got spotted, the probe got spotted, the defense was good, and Curious just from that point on made no mistakes. He got his bases up, he always scouted, and Seed is crushed here. That was a gamble he did not need to take, but he decided to go for it, and it will win you the game a lot of the time. We've seen it so many times before in the past, in the GSL, in Code A, in Code S, in Team League. We've seen it, in other leagues. We've seen it in, big LAN events. It's in a build where, you risk a lot, but it can really, really pay off if you're going to scout. Curious just sending that Overlord back, though, changed the game. And that was one of the safest things I've ever seen a Zerg do, is just in case, I'm going to send an Overlord over here. You can actually, he did not only send the Overlord just to the top, he sent it up and down again. So it was like, okay, I'm going to scout that corner with the Overlord, it's going to be fine. Even if he puts out power, I'm going to see it in time, and then the Overlord goes into another scouting path. That was exactly what he needed, and when he defended, the game was basically over, especially with all of those units. Okay, at this point he might have still had a chance, but when those Lings got up the ramp,
it killed the sentries.
Not seeing it, killed the Stalker and 2 sentries, that was when Curious knew, okay, this game is over unless I go and smoke one right now. So,
I mean, when the attack hit, it was 90 supply to 40 supply. In the early game, that it really even tells the tale more than if you look at that much of a difference in supply in the late game. So Curious sitting there going, well, that was easy. What's next? What's next, FXOpen?
I actually think in this scenario I would rather send a Protoss out. Send Hurricane out as the next player.
For me, it's got to either be Hurricane or Lucky. I don't think Lennox your guy
Lucky
today.
is not playing. That's at least what he said earlier. Oh,
okay.
he might be. No,
Lennox.
So they are really going for the Zerg.
And it's Lennox, of all people, someone who recently has not been having a good time.
But
Curious, not too phased.
It's not too bad. I mean, they know what they are up against now. They have 3 players that are just there to take down Lennox. Curious has a 61% win ratio in this particular matchup, so he's definitely a player who can take it. But I feel that Joya just looked at the roster that he had and was like, yep, I would like to send out Hurricane against Curious. But I have to think about the next players too, and I feel that Lennox is the better choice in the long run. If he's able to get past Curious to take 2 more wins, I don't think that Hurricane can really accomplish this. So I think that's why we have the choice here.
Yeah. Lennox with a grin on his face. And he has been the master of coming out last and winning games for his team. You can see in GSTL, he's played nearly 50 times, and he has just above 50%. You looked at that win ratio a year ago, you see something like 78, 80%, 85%. Nowadays, not so much.
And by the way, just to go through this too, like Lennox, of course, in this matchup is also like really good. It's not only Curious who has a very good win ratio in the Zerg versus Zerg. It's just like if you're in this situation, you would like to just shape the odds a little bit in your favor by just using the better matchup against someone. And we all know that Curious is kind of a little bit shaky against Protoss in general. That's one of the reasons why he went for the 10-pole. The other one is, of course, the upcoming WCS Challenger League match. But yeah, Hurricane would have been a good choice here, but Lennox is definitely not a bad player to send out. I mean, even with his GSTL record not the best this season,
yeah,
he's still a solid choice.
He is. He's a good all-around player, and that's why I like him as the choice here, because whatever comes next, he will at least be able to deal with decently. Something to avenge his hair there. I figured it out. But Seed is just talking with Hurricane there. 2 Protoss is holding hands, being sad about fighting Zergs. And just some friendly banter between Curious and Lennox there in the chat. Polar Knight being the map that Lennox has chosen.
Yeah. And Lennox will most likely have to go up. I mean, what do you think? Who's going to be the next few players that we have if Lennox is actually able to win? Llama has to be one of them. Yeah. That's a given. But them thinking about the next player,
I could see Hack maybe coming out today. He looked like he was ready and warmed up when I saw him down there in the makeup room, and I would not be surprised to see Hack come out against Lennox. I think a lot of people would, but I would not be shocked. We could also see Avenge too.
Yeah, I would probably rather like to see Avenge than Life. Going into another Zerg versus Zerg, yeah, but either Avenge or Life. Depends a little bit on who feels more confident today, I guess.
Yeah. Lennox looking pretty confident. Curious looking like Curious. He always looks like that. Here we go. Zerg versus Zerg could be the last game of the day. Curious is able to take the win against Lennox here at the GSTL. Caldor and Wolf.